Folks, thanks a lot for the 70,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. But we're not stopping here. Let's push it, folks, to 100,000 subscribers. So give that support to the channel and subscribe and hit that like button down below to reach our goal of 153 likes. And now let's go for it. In the opening scene, a young man learned the hard way that humans only value something when they lose it. The second thing he learned is that losing is very easy. The second discovery has been disturbing the boy ever since because his mind keeps hammering that he will lose everyone he loves or connects with. Reflecting on this at the grave of his family members after a serious car accident, the boy cries while being comforted by a friend who assures him she's by his side. This boy's name is Asano Taiyo. Despite the unparalleled pain of this loss, it seems he has many friends to ease this suffering, and they make efforts to invite him to various activities like soccer or karaoke. Despite this, Asano refuses all the proposals he receives to go out, and the group still can't get to know this boy who has been in their class for a month but collapses just by having to respond to others. However, it's not that Asano doesn't want to make friends with these guys, but something prevents him from taking the next step. At this moment, his friend Matsumi questions if Taiyo rejected those people again and scolds him for running away. He loses patience with this and asks to be left alone, but Matsumi had made lunch for him because he's always working and not eating properly, so in the end, she was forcing him to eat all the carrots this time. Eavesdropping on the scene, the rejected boys wonder why the school's biggest idol, Yozakura, would act like a fool like that, even though they're childhood friends. Meanwhile, Matsumi shows concern because Taiyo is always alone and she fears he will spend the rest of his life like that. On the other hand, the boy argues that she recently rejected Tanaka, a handsome, intelligent guy in the third year and captain of the soccer team. She slightly boasts about rejecting such a guy, but then asks her friend to move on and make new friends because surely his parents would be happy with that. That said, Matsumi was about to feed her friend, but a man intervenes and takes the fork. The girl complains that Mr. Hirokawa had promised to stop stealing other people's food, but he responds that he can't control his body's impulses in front of such delicious food. Then she asks if he shouldn't be on a business trip abroad, but Hirokawa missed Matsumi's lunch so much that he decided to come back early just to satisfy his craving. Furthermore, he's been away from that beautiful white streak of hers for so long and asks to rub his face on it. But she warns with a smile that she will report him if he dares to do that. Finally, Hanakawa invites Asano to his office after class, and the boy worries he has done something wrong, but Hanakawa leaves in a strange way without revealing anything. After class, the boys make sure to say goodbye to Asano, and he walks through the school corridors while memories of the accident invade his mind, constantly reminding him that his ability to connect with others was buried with his parents. Upon arriving at the vice principal's office, Asano is greeted with tea, and Mr. Hanakawa sits strangely close to him before showing his secret collection of photos of Matsumi. Inside, Asano calls the vice principal a pervert and remembers how much this guy has always favored Matsumi. Therefore, he considers reporting the guy, especially because he has a photo of the girl when she was only 3 years old. Hanakawa reveals that he has always succumbed to Matsumi's beauty and couldn't stay away from her. In fact, when that Tanaka guy started bothering her, he kindly asked him to stop hanging around her, and in the end, the boy ended up giving in to the request. Reading between the lines of this passive-aggressive speech, Asano realizes he needs to do something before this maniac does something to his friend, but Hanakawa, jealous of the lunches Asano gets from the girl, threatens him with a blade. For a long time, the vice principal overlooked the boy because he was her childhood friend, but now he sees no other option. Asano couldn't move out of fear, but a mysterious girl bursts into the room and activates a strange device that takes Asano away from there. Sometime later, the boy wakes up in a strange place where Matsumi is with some weirder people than he has ever seen in his life. A giant in a lab coat with a bucket on his head scares Asano, who tries to escape, and a girl warns the big guy Nanao that he can't hide behind Matsumi. Soon, Asano's childhood friend explains that these are her siblings, which confuses the young man. The older sister is called Futaba. The name of the older brother is Shinzo. The one with purple hair is Cheyenne. The dressed-up kid is Kengo. The giant is called Nanao, and the watchdog is Goliath. All these members form a family of spies, and Matsumi confesses that it was difficult to keep it a secret for these 10 years. Asano goes crazy with this revelation and thinks everyone there is messing with him. So he grabs a pistol thinking it's a toy, but accidentally fires it upwards and realizes that reality was more real than he thought. Goliath explains that being a spy is a common job, far from what movies show, and Futaba complains that there has been an increase in public servant spies who charge almost nothing, so they can't compete with that, even though Cheyenne comments that they are rated 4.8 out of 5 on the internet. At least, according to Kengo, they have their brother Kyoichiro to boost their popularity, the male spy that women most want to become the target of investigation. Matsumi explains that he has some serious character flaws, but in terms of professional competence, he is certainly the best spy in the family, According to Futaba, Asano was being targeted by him because rumors from a fan page indicated that someone was planning to kill Matsumi. So Futaba adds that one day during an incident, Matsumi suffered a nearly fatal injury from Kyoichiro, and this white hair is a remnant of the stress from that incident. Since then, he became unnaturally obsessed with his sister because of his feelings of guilt. He changed his name and chose a job where he could watch her closely, manipulating all her personal relationships as he pleased, becoming a kind of protective monster. As Asano is Matsumi's childhood friend, Kyoichiro spared the boy, but with this denunciation, he has the perfect justification to kill him. Speaking of him, an alarm reveals that Kyoichiro is inside this house, probably to catch Asano. However, the siblings ask the young man to stay calm because they locked all the doors that lead to this room and installed all possible traps for the eldest spy. Futaba wants to beat up her older brother, but Cheyenne reminds her that even with 5 against 1, the success rate in direct confrontations against him is only 30%, besides there being a 45% chance of someone ending up in the hospital and a 25% chance of the house catching fire. Therefore, Futaba approaches Asano and reveals that the only chance for him to survive is by marrying Matsumi, because this will make him a member of the Yozakura family, and one of the family rules is not to kill its members. To marry a Yozakura, Matsumi needs to share her double cherry blossom ring with Asano, making the union between them official. According to Futaba, not even someone as disturbed as Kyoichiro would be able to break such an unshakable rule, and perhaps this marriage will put an end to his bizarre fetish for his sister. However, faced with Asano's association of marriage with building a family, his trauma surfaces once again. But is Matsumi herself who refuses to marry the boy because she knows Taiyo is going through a painful grieving process, and it's not the ideal time for him to think about forming a new family, as it would be cruel not to respect this very difficult phase of his recovery. Futaba apologizes for the proposal, and Asano feels strangely conflicted, while Shio calls her siblings to teach Kyoichiro a lesson, but he appears out of nowhere where they are and regrets not having been included in this game. He warns Shinzo that it would be very troublesome to avoid all the traps he set, so he decided to destroy them all. Futaba insists and tells her older brother to leave Matsumi and Asano alone, but he claims that there is no guarantee that this guy is harmless, so he insists on conducting a more thorough investigation. Consequently, Futaba investigates Kyoichiro's ability to withstand pain more deeply and announces another fight between siblings. Then Shinzo immobilizes the man with his metallic claws, and Nano punches him heavily in the face, but he had set a trap where both fell at the same time, which took Shinzo and Nano out of the fight. Later, Kyoichiro demands that the training end and they hand over Asano, or else he will destroy this house into pieces. To prove he's serious, the spy displays his secret weapon, a steel spider, so Futaba plans to stall for time with her siblings while Matsui takes Asano and disappears with him. The older sister tries to delay the opponent, but in a short time he manages to subdue the girl, trapping her on the ceiling and preventing her from forcing her way out, otherwise he could slice his own body. Soon, Kengo takes Asano and Matsumi outside, and Cheyenne is in charge of the brother. He says that this is not an appropriate test for her level, but Cheyenne is not in the mood for games and tells the pervert to shut up, while launching several drones in the room with his remote control that relentlessly fire at the spy. Meanwhile, outside, Asano is placed in a hiding place to be kept safe, and before locking the boy inside, Matsumi says once again that she will be by his side, making a reference to the day of the funeral. Shortly after, Kyoichiro had already gotten rid of Cheyenne and his drones, and now he wants Matsumi to stay by his side so as not to dirty her with the blood of his target. Slowly, the girl approaches her brother, but as soon as she tries to fight him, Kyoichiro immobilizes the girl along with Goliath, already knowing it was Kengo disguised. Therefore, he also knew that this Asano was not the real one, so he keeps asking where they hit his target. However, this time is Matsumi who asserts herself and tells her brother to stay away from Taiyo because he would never be able to lay a finger on her, and she reminds him of what happened to his family, so she doesn't want her friend to suffer even more. Consequently, Kyoichiro promises not to go after Asano anymore, but says he will also not let his sister leave the house because there are many undesirable people outside, and he doesn't want to fail as an older brother. As he approaches with open arms and asserts that he will prohibit her from doing various things, the girl holds the knife in her hand, but unable to react, she apologizes to Taiyo. However, it is Taiyo Asano himself who shows up and tells Kyoichiro to let go of his friend. He reflects that Kyoichiro has the same fear as him of losing loved ones, but this scoundrel crosses all limits. Therefore, Asano asks Matsumi to use Futaba's strategy that would keep them both safe, so she throws half of the cherry blossom ring to him, but Kyoichiro prevents him from catching it with his steel spider. Nevertheless, Asano forces the wire to reach the ring, while secretly thanking his friend who always protected him in the toughest moments. From now on, Asano promises that he will be the one to protect her, and he cuts the wires with sheer force. Thus, he finally puts on the ring and confirms his union with the girl, who falls into his arms shortly afterward, while their younger siblings celebrate the event as they arrive at the scene. At the end of the day, Taiyo gazed at his beautiful ring already lying on his bed. Just a little earlier, he bid farewell to Matsumi and inquired if Kiyoichiro would be alright because apparently the guy was somewhat disturbed by his sister's sudden marriage, but Futaba made it clear that she would make him face reality even if it meant with a punch. Finally, Matsumi thanked the boy for his help. At 7:30 the next morning, Taiyo was awakened by the alarm clock in the presence of Kiyoichiro armed with a knife. When the spy missed his first stab, he had to admit that the young man's reflexes were on point. Taiyo asked what this guy was doing there, and he replied that this was the traditional good morning from the Yozakura family. Furthermore, if he wanted to play spy, the boy had to sleep with one eye open to avoid becoming mincemeat. Then, Kiyoichiro introduced the family's morning training by immobilizing the poor boy with his wires. Downstairs, Matsumi was cheerfully cooking until she heard the screams of her newest husband, so she went to see what was going on with his lunchbox in hand, only to find the kid being tossed around by the older brother. According to the brother, this was Taiyo's first stretching training, and seeing the lunchbox in the girl's hand, he still thought she made it for him. With that, the girl vented all her anger, so Kiyoichiro decided to leave the rest of the training for later. Suddenly, he looked at the clock and realized he needed to get out of there as soon as possible. And as he carried them both with him, the house exploded completely. Kiyoichiro promised to explain everything in detail later, as well as to postpone the quarrel with Taiyo for later too, because first he needed to explain the Yozakura family's main mission, which is to protect Matsumi. Shortly after, he called the couple to leave, and Matsumi raised the confused boy. Inside a limousine, Kiyoichiro received an important warning from Shinzo about a fragment he thought was from a time bomb in the kitchen, and that the target was Matsumi. According to Kiyoichiro, news spreads fast in this field, and her marriage to Taiyo is no exception, as shown by the numerous congratulations on the spy's phone. Taiyo asked why Matsumi is so pursued, so Kiyoichiro explained that she is the 10th head of the family. The Yozakuras have their roots since the time of the ninjas in the Edo period, always producing descendants with extraordinary abilities. But always among the special members, a common person without powers was born, and this person became known as the head. And even though the head has no exceptional talent like the other members, her offspring always carries the genes that manifest this family's gift. Therefore, the empowered members always take charge of protecting the head to keep her lineage alive. In the case of the Yozakura family, this person is Matsumi. But this current generation of the Yozakuras doesn't care about family lineage, so they want Matsumi to have a normal life on their own terms. However, the girl claims that her family members have sacrificed themselves to keep things running, so she feels responsible for fulfilling her role as the head. With the beautiful words of determination, Kiyoichiro questions if there is a more perfect girl than his sister, and asks what she is doing with that clown Taiyo. Finally, after explaining the girl's unique situation, Kiyoichiro reveals that she is making her debut in the underworld as the leader of the Yozakura, collecting data and information about ordinary society. However, by stepping out of the brother's protection, Matsumi is exposed to all sorts of criminals who have fused with the family or who intend to kidnap the head. Speaking of which, 2 cars with heavily armed men approach the limousine and open fire on the protagonists, leaving Taiyo on the verge of a heart attack. Kiyoichiro tries to reassure him, saying that the car is bulletproof, and with a snap of his fingers, he activates a command that accelerates the car to 180 kilometers per hour to shake off the enemies. At that moment, one of the criminals pulls out a gun to break through the target's protection, but Kiyoichiro insists that the driver not drive like a maniac or else he'll end up spilling his tea. Taiyo questions who the blessed one is at the helm of this wheel, and Matsumi praises the unparalleled skill of the dog Goliath. The criminals fire a missile at the limousine, and the dog successfully dodges it. But Kiyoichiro won't forgive the men for ruining his tea break, so he personally appears on top of the car. The men fire at him, but his steel spider ensures that no projectile hits his body. The enemies resort to another missile, however, the wires trigger the explosive halfway. Then Kiyoichiro cuts the 2 enemy cars and blows up the soldiers inside. When he returns to the limousine, he uses this case as an example to illustrate the life of a Yozakura, spending his days under constant danger with the goal of protecting Matsumi, the head. Now that Taiyo is part of the family, Kiyoichiro establishes that the boy's first mission is to protect his fiancée until the end of that day. So the 2 finally arrive at school, and Taiyo enters the classroom, inspecting every inch of the room for threats to his beloved's safety. Once again, the boys in the room approach him to ask how things are going, but the kid is steeped in espionage and doesn't give any hint that he'll engage in human contact with anyone today. Before the couple arrives at school, Kiyoichiro was handing a gun to the boy and saying that even if Taiyo sends someone to their grave, they'll sweep it under the rug so he can feel free to shoot if necessary. Then, Kyoichiro asks Taiyo to protect Matsumi from a known bomber named Tameya. Taiyo asks if it was the guy who put the bomb in their house, and Kyoichiro thinks so, because that bomb was top-notch, and when he hired this bomber to sabotage a rival group, he only used the best bombs he himself built. Taiyo finds it strange that the spy knows this Tameya guy, but he explains that in this field, it's most common for people to switch sides depending on the advantage they'll gain. So the only person you should trust is yourself, and sometimes not even that. Then he reveals that Tameya has only one small flaw. He's addicted to social media. And instead of just posting nonsensical poems, he publishes information about the nature of his work, as well as his target, and so far he's been successful with it. Taiyo questions if this isn't a flaw a bit more serious than small, and the spy would love to talk about it. But he has several hostages to save today, so he teaches the bomber's tactic once and for all. After playing with the target with small bombs, he settles the score with the special explosives he loves so much. Recently, Tameya announced the existence of 3 bombs, one of which demolished the Yozakura's house, so there are 2 left, and Kyoichiro doesn't care if Taiyo comes home without both legs or even as a bowl of soup. All he wants to know is if his dear sister will come out of this without a scratch. Since then, the rookie has been giving his all in the mission assigned to him, and after his intense initial investigation, Taiyo finds no traces of a bomb in the classroom. Still, the bomber might be infiltrated in the school, so there's no time to blink for now. Suddenly, Tameya posts that the second bomb has been assembled, and Taiyo panics. After taking a hit on the head, he sees a shadow passing by the school infirmary and rushes to investigate the situation. Upon reaching the door, the nurse asks if the boy got hurt, forcing him to retreat, but the woman strangely gives him a wicked smile. Taiyo returns to the corridor, not knowing what to do until he notices that the infirmary is closed today. Meanwhile, Matsumi has lunch with her friends, and they talk about trivial things like a rumor that a spaceship was seen flying over the school. Sitting near the girls, Taiyo reads on Tameya's social network that he set up the 3rd and final bomb. During his day carefully observing the Yozakura's head, he noticed that she doesn't eat the food she receives right away, and she never stays alone, and that's how Matsumi fights daily for her survival. In the middle of his reflection, the guys approach Taiyo again and offer him a chocolate as an apology for the earlier hit, and the boy swallows the candy without a second thought, leaving the guys startled. Taiyo asks why they are surprised, and they explain that they were used to being ignored by him just by getting close, which didn't happen this time. Suddenly, the rookie spy has a faint, but since he's on a mission, he states that for the sake of his wife, he won't faint. However, it's Matsumi herself who's taking care of him as soon as he wakes up in a room with a sofa since the infirmary is closed. Therefore, the boy asks if he's really the right guy for the girl because they are childhood friends, but apparently Taiyo knew nothing about her spy family, all this talk of head, and living constantly in danger. Still, even carrying this weight on his shoulders, she has always been by Taiyo's side in difficult times, unlike him, who even in the marriage proposal was only thinking about his own desire to protect Matsumi without consulting her feelings. However, Matsumi punches the boy in the forehead to make him stop crying because deep down she always wanted him as her husband. Relieved with the affirmation from his fiancée, the boy looks at Matsumi and ends up seeing a bomb attached to the ceiling about to explode. After the blast, the boys in the room think that the noise was the science club messing around, but it was actually Kengo who had planted the bomb after disguising himself as a nurse. Nanao questions if it was a good idea to explode a bomb above the youngest, and Kengo admits that it's a bit risky, until Cheyenne calls and orders the boy to come home immediately. Meanwhile, Taiyo removes the sofa he used to protect both of them, and soon wonders how Tameya knew they would be in this room since they just arrived. Therefore, he reviews the facts from before about the closed infirmary, leaving only this room as an option for him to lie down. Then he notices a bomb attached to his waist and realizes that the bomber did everything to keep Taiyo close to Matsumi, because he himself would be the time bomb. As the countdown was nearing the end and the door was locked, Taiyo jumps out of the window to spare his fiancée, but Kyoichiro had finished his job earlier and had time to come back to solve the mess. Recognizing Tameya's spark bomb, the spy acknowledges that it's small and causes a big mess, but it has 2 flaws. Since it recharges using the target's body heat, it takes time to activate. The other flaw is that it can be disarmed with a simple wire given its simple design. Anyway, he considers that Taiyo completed his mission, therefore rewarding the boy by accepting him definitively into the family. And even though he wants to cruelly kill Taiyo, Kyoichiro would sacrifice himself to prevent him from dying. Thus, Taiyo must work intensely with the goal of always keeping Matsumi Yozakura alive. After pulling the rookie back, Kyoichiro reveals that he needs to return the ball to its owner, and soon Kengo, Nanao, and lastly Shinzo enter the room. Since today was Taiyo's first mission, they thought it could be fun to participate. So Shinzo throws Tomea the bomber to the ground, Kyobakiro throws him away with his wires and a time bomb about to explode, making a spectacle in the open sky after the countdown reached 0. Checking his phone, Taiyo notices that the bomber posted on the internet that he's about to die now, so Matsumi likes the post, and they both laugh. Hey folks, we're kicking off the new anime season, and if you enjoyed this anime and want to see more of it, go ahead and hit that like button down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We need your support to reach our goal of 70,000 subscribers. Every subscription counts and helps us grow our community. Catch you next time.